I am Feel It.
And I am Fix It. And we talk about life.
And stuff and things.
With the occasional rant.
Which you will have no problem doing.
Hello there. Hi, how you doing? Good morning. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever it is you're currently having. We hope you're having a good one.
Not sure why you're pausing.
I'm waiting for you to respond.
See, when you give your intro, I think you're talking to listeners, not me. So I'm not going to.
I am, but at the same
finish.
But at the same time, I'm giving you an opportunity to chime in. Because you can say hi
everyone. Too. So you have your little shtick there. So I let you get through it. Hello.
Hello there. And there's a part of me that realizes I'm kind of channeling SpongeBob when he's trying to be normal. If you remember that episode, where his bubbles go away and he gets kind of rounded off, so he wasn't square. Like, hey,
vaguely.
Hi, how are you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
realize I'm
did
kind
not
of
realize
channeling that a little bit, and I wasn't entirely going for that, but it just.
Oh my goodness!
I heard it in my own ears this time.
Wow.
A little weird. I'll go with it.
That was cool though.
Yeah.
All right. Yes. Hello, everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It is snow globe outside. Sometimes it looks like it got shooken up, and other times it's just light and gentle and pretty.
Yeah, it's definitely very snow globy. This is officially our first recording of the new year.
It is.
Yep.
It is.
So, that's cool.
We're relaxing in our jammies.
Yes.
Way past the point when I should be in my pajamas, but I'm telling myself it's a day off. Well, it's the last holiday for a minute.
We're not going anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere.
We don't have anywhere we have to be. We can just kind of relax. Yeah.
Ironic. Not ironic isn't the word. Not apropos of following the goal set that I talked about last night for the new year, considering I should have been in like workout clothes and functioned, but that's just not how the day went. And I'm going to hold to last holiday for a minute.
Yep.
And
I'll go with that.
There's always tomorrow.
There's always tomorrow, yes.
There's always tomorrow. Tomorrow's a new day. Of course, I'm back to work tomorrow. But
True.
This is the discussion that we had about finding a new schedule for working out. Because my working schedule is what it is. As you carve out appropriate time to function as I need to outside of work. Mm-hmm. The balance.
I'm trying to find some. Yeah.
Be working on that. But
yes, that is always a tricky thing to manage in anybody's life, is finding some balance in there.
Doesn't mean I couldn't go work out when we're done. I probably won't. I don't know. It's acting possessed again.
Yeah, printers, gotta love them.
But the printer just randomly goes off. It's
yeah.
Fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
Next to my microphone.
It's cool.
But it has been a nice day of relaxing.
Yes,
fortunately, our youngest did have to work. That's the way of retail at the holidays. It's New Year's.
Yes,
They were closed for Christmas, so there's that.
Well, this is true.
But
and
it's a short day.
Yes, which is also weird in and of itself.
And then when you think, I want to order tacos, wait, they're closed. But they should be, because it's nice that they have some holidays that they're actually closed.
Yes, they don't close a lot, but they do close.
Well, I should say I wanted tacos for all of you. I would take bites, but
sure.
The point was,
not
cooking, and because we don't have them near as often as we used to.
No, we don't. No, but that's okay. I mean, it's cool.
When the young lady that would come to our home was the one that ate them
every time. She was definitely a driving factor for that.
That was her thing.
Yeah.
So
she would eat it, at least. That was
once upon a time.
Yeah. But what are you going to do?
So.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yes.
I had said that we would take last week, visit family, celebrate a little. We did that. We're through the family celebrations of the holidays. And I know traditionally it just kind of runs through that weekend after New Year's for school breaks and things of the like. But we're kind of at the tail end of holiday celebrations. Like I said, ours are done. So it's just kind of getting back into a routine and rhythm, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Waiting for the new year for the wheel of pain to come back around again.
Wow, I can't say I've heard it like that, but okay. In my line of work, it would be for individuals to come who have had to spend a lot of time with their family, and they need to process the trauma of dealing with their families. There's that. Or just winter depression sets in. Anxiety and depression, which, yep. I know, it's really coming down again. It looks like it got shook up.
Really big, fluffy crud falling right now.
So pretty, accumulating quickly. Pretty.
It is very pretty. I've always thought it was pretty. Then I have to move it, and I have other words for it other than pretty.
Winter's just beginning, so that'll have its place. I had said, when you asked me, what are we talking about? And I said, well, you'll follow my lead. And you will. A lot of different topics have been flowing through my mind to come back to. So just like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, things like that I said we'd get back to, which I'm not there today, so we won't.
Okay.
Oddly, and parallel to in some ways, I think I've referenced before, and if I haven't, that 2 years ago, I believe it was, Still, it was the Michael J. Fox documentary.
Okay.
I believe it was an Apple-only documentary, and we'd done like a freebie to be able to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very inspiring. And now, this year, I had seen a few times, I'd gone to some movies in the last few months in theaters, they were advertising for a documentary about Christopher Reeve.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then it happened to be then on HBO. Released on HBO. So we watched that.
Yes.
Today. I'd recorded it. It wasn't on that long ago. I'd recorded it, and then we sat and watched that today. Made me think a lot of the Michael J. Fox in the inspiration level. But, I lived through, and for anybody listening to this that doesn't know who Christopher Reeve is, he was a Superman I knew of. I know in the generation today, it's, what Spider-Man is your guy, right? It's Tobey Maguire had this, and Andrew Garfield had that, and Tom Holland has this. But Tobey Maguire was the original, right?
Sure.
Christopher Reeve was Superman for decades. Like he was it.
Yep.
Before Henry Cavill.
Yes.
There was, and I cannot even think of the guy that. Oh my goodness, I feel so bad. I've seen him in a couple of other movies. He also did a good job when they tried to revive Superman, and for whatever reason was not recast as. But he did an excellent job. Brandon Routh.
Brandon Routh.
Brandon Routh.
Yeah, I think
he also did an excellent job.
Yes, he did. He was trying to play Superman. He was playing Christopher Reeve's Superman, not his own Superman, which I think was why it kind of fell flat.
But he did an excellent job.
He did do an excellent job, but that's.
I don't know the behind the scenes stuff and why he didn't keep going with it. And then Henry Cavill ended up becoming. Cavill ended up becoming the guy.
And Henry Cavill embodied Superman.
I think they kind of rebooted the whole thing.
Yeah, they did. But he kind of did. He embodied Superman in the same kind of way that Christopher Reeves did, but for a different generation. And yeah.
But I bring it up. Generation, right? You just said it.
Yes.
It's the generation that you know who you're going to know as Superman. When I was very young, so I don't even remember when the first one came out. It must have been in the late 70s when the first one came out. I was born in 79. I guess I'd have to look at the actual year that the first Superman came out. But if I was not born yet, but that was the Superman I knew of growing up. Yeah, he's looking it up for me. Fact check me. We just watched a documentary a few hours ago. Some of the dates aren't solid in my mind. actually, if I'm being real, the first movie I really remembered him for was Somewhere in Time, because my mother loved that movie. And as soon as it was available, I believe on VHS.
78.
78. See, I knew it came out before I was born. Um, I remembered Somewhere in Time first before I actually remembered Superman. And then by the time I remember Superman, there was at least two of them out. It was just kind of a, I was more in a Star Trek, Star Wars household than I was comic book.
Yeah.
And that was like one of the first that they really tried to bring out in a strong way. As it did a really good job in this documentary. I loved getting some of that the background on it of like the directors and people involved. And
nobody had really pulled off a comic book movie that worked.
And now it's like every other movie.
Yeah, nobody's doing anything original anymore. It's always, some kind of IP is involved in, predetermined fan base rather than trying to create a new one. But yeah, there really wasn't a real, comic book.
See, and you're a little older than me.
I'm
Batman
trying to think.
was a thing before.
Oh,
that,
it was,
right?
But, so was Superman. Superman had a TV show back in the
But Batman's
50s.
more the longer lasting, where, hence your Christmas present, or one of your Christmas presents. It's that longer lasting. There are the generations that have seen the growth.
Yes.
But that Adam West is still with us. Correct? Adam West is still alive, is he not?
No, he passed a few years back.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I apologize.
No.
But he was still well known, and then there was still through the generations of reinvention, they kind of honored, they seemed to honor Batman differently.
Yeah, different. Well, and it changed.
Because that's decades.
Yeah. Well, if you go back, it's like, I'm trying to remember, was the 20s or the 30s that the first, Batman, quote unquote Batman, very different character than what he evolved into. And there were, way back in the day, movie houses had serials. It was kind of like your TV series of today. If so you'd go to the Nickel show and there would be like a 10-minute Batman or 10-minute half-hour Batman and Superman. So there was a number of Batmans and Supermans that if you dig really hard, you can find most of them.
So kind of hearing about the reality of the struggles in the actual creation of that first Superman was Christopher Reeve.
Yes.
I say first one because I don't know, but four of them?
The first movie.
Four?
Yeah,
the first movie.
There was 4 Christopher Reeve Superman movies.
But the first live action movie,
Well, they didn't know how they were going to pull off
a lot of stunts.
Well, and actually that's not an uncommon thing. That was one of the reasons why I think the first Star Wars movie was as good as it was. They had no clue how they were going to pull off the special effects they needed to pull off. And in the Superman movie, they knew how to green screen. They've been doing chroma key for freaking ever.
Then he pulled off certain moves that were to them genius.
Yeah,
like the flying
he was a
scenes.
pilot, so he understood the mechanics of flight. So he put that into his body motions on top of all of the rigs that they had to figure out, and how we make this
fascinating.
It's there's the one the first scene that he flies. That's not a green screen. They're doing that with wires and guides and stuff like that, but they had to make it seamless, and they did. But he was also his physical performance added to it to make it more realistic, and they knew it's okay, we actually figured this out, kind of.
It was fascinating.
But there was something about those movies that drove a creativity for things that we just take for granted today, which is always, to me, kind of fascinating in the mechanics of how they do stuff sometimes. I know it's a little bit of a jog, but
well, sort of. I mean, yes, I know you'd appreciate different aspects than I would.
Yes.
The reason I thought of it as a topic, hence we just watched it, but and if it's for you don't know, and anybody could certainly Google that in today's age. And I remember hearing about his accident. He was racing horses, which he loved to do.
Yep. He was very good at it.
And it was just an accident. Just one of those, you can't explain that half inch one way or another, and things would have been, whether it was death or life, just a different outcome. And what was the most extraordinary thing about it at the time that I do remember hearing about was the actual disconnection of his head
Yes.
from his body. I mean, he had
he was
a record-breaking surgery, if you will.
Yeah. Well, it was something that had never been attempted before.
It was
just the fact that he was still alive enough for them to do the surgery.
Yes. And keeping him there.
He was technically decapitated.
Yes, he was.
The bones were shattered.
I don't mean to sound morbid and icky with that, but he was. If you could imagine a genuine disconnection of your spine. I'm talking like
spine and spinal cord.
Your head is disconnected completely from your spine. It was phenomenal what they managed to do for him.
One of the
and this was the late 90s, I believe, or mid-late 90s.
I think it was 95.
Yeah. So yes. So it wasn't. I mean, today's technology was not. It wasn't there.
No, and even by today's standards, that's not an injury people survive.
He ended up becoming a quadriplegic through incredible hard work for recovery.
Yeah, I think he was basically completely paralyzed and numb from the shoulders down, I think is what they said.
He did manage some ability to move after a very long span of time.
Yes. Well, his nerves do heal. They just don't heal well, and they heal very slowly.
And thank you for bringing up exactly why it was on my heart to actually talk about this, right? Because watching this documentary hit me a little differently than I thought it would. I thought it was just going to be fascinating to get some knowledge about what had happened to him, because he was an icon. He was an icon of my lifetime. And like I said, and I'll bring up and go back to it again, I remember Somewhere in Time first. I remember my mother renting it. I remember it being a big deal because it was filmed in Michigan. It was filmed on Mackinac Island at the Grand Hotel.
It's the only time they allowed cars on the island.
Yes. It was a very big deal, like in the local news. And my mother loved those kinds of movies anyway, but I remember that one first. That was the first movie I actually remember him in before Superman, just in my cognitive memory. And I had my girls sit down with me a few years and watch that movie, just so they could understand why it was a big deal.
Yep.
Jane Seymour. They'd seen Jane Seymour in a lot of Hallmark movies and some other things. And I remember just talking about it and bringing it up. And anyway, because I don't know if our girls have actually sat through. Maybe our oldest has sat through
Dr. Quinn and Medicine Woman.
Okay, that's a different movie.
I know.
A different show.
No,
I do remember that show, but
Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman.
Yes, that was Jane Seymour. But anyway, I don't know if our oldest has sat through Superman. Maybe I should ask them. I don't know if they have. But anyway, it was the discussions that they would bring up and what fascinated me, because I have my own issues, right? When it comes to neuroscience, there is no expert per se. Yes, there are experts in certain things, but there's nobody that knows it all.
No.
And even if you stuck everybody that knows all the things about certain things in a room, they're not going to know it all.
No. They have recently discovered, very like within the last 5 or so years, recently discovered certain organs in the body that they didn't know existed or had a purpose. So it's like we've been studying there
since the dawn of time. Yeah, they have found evidence in Egyptian tombs.
If you think about like Da Vinci, he had detailed drawings of dissections of a human body, which could have gotten him like burned at the stake for witchcraft, because it was like the church says you can't do that. But that's another thing for another day. And to think that that's hundreds of years ago, many centuries ago. And we've been studying in that level of detail since. And we have the ability to see the body as it functions from the inside out. And we're still learning stuff we didn't know. And when it comes to the nervous system, that's even more so.
And for somebody like myself that has significant issues
Like
nobody has the answers for what's happening or how to make it better. Nobody.
No.
Even 2 days ago when I had the dry needling, the whole premise of that is you're sticking these needles into certain spots, and then you are trying to incite a reaction, some type of healing reaction, by putting electricity to it. So that there's a different a form and function with the needle itself, and then the needle with the electricity, right? So when he jokes about what pattern I have on me, I had the Frankenstein pattern that particular day because, I got a bunch like coming out of my back and my traps and then my head. He put some remember the temple area. And because I lived that to my degree with my issues, watching that documentary, it was genuinely, truly because of what happened to him and then his advocacy and that his children are still carrying on for him that makes so many of those advancements possible. And it was a horrifying accident.
Yes.
Horrifying.
Yes.
For what and what you'd say, somebody would say just a dumb accident, however you want to put that. But
it was kind of a freak accident.
Just a freak thing. Yeah. The horse stopped and he didn't. He came right off of it. And that to see the footage, and like I said, I've known about it. You know about it. It's in your lifetime. You see it on the news. And his wife passing away not long after him. Yeah, I remember hearing about it. Didn't know any of the detail until today. And like you're, oh my gosh, like how horrifying. And even that they still had a minor child. I also actually guess I wasn't aware of that. I knew he had children, older children, but to know that he still had a minor child at the time, horrifying. All of that is absolutely horrifying. And it is true that he was
42
he was 42 when he had the accident.
3-year-old son.
Yes.
So that was like, that's...
And the other two, I think, were like early teen, probably somewhere in there.
Like that,
previous relationship, not a marriage, but a relationship to have those children. But there was a gap. Yes, there was a gap there. And he had not been married long to Dana Reeve. The mother of the youngest child. But yes, he was blessed to have the means. Sure. Yes, of course. And then to be able to advocate. And then it was actually fascinating to see the involvement politically that he had. And the difference that has made to be able to
huge.
Huge. Kind of put some of those things together for myself, as I am somebody that can receive some of the benefit of the advancement because of the money that's been poured into different research and things of that like. That's certainly not my problem. I mean, I do not have spinal issues. No,
but the spinal column is like his primary focus was spinal cord injuries. But that's one primary branch of the nervous system. You can't learn about that large branch without also learning, because like nerve cells are not that different in their location, no matter where they're at. The structure's basically the same.
Sure.
So if you learn how to fix one, you learn how to fix most of them.
In his case, there was only so much fixing.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it was function. Like he just had to learn to stay as strong as he could, knowing that the systems break down.
Yes.
It's only a matter of time. Now.
Well, the fact that he was able he regained some motion, which they got into.
Mobility, yeah.
Some, it wasn't.
It was just so
it was
minor.
Minute.
But
it was
for
very
those
minute.
fingers to be able to move it all, for crying out loud.
Which over a long period of time, his nerves started to repair. And then his brain had to realize that connection was there and then learn how to access that connection. And, it's like it's...
If you can appreciate, unless you've watched a loved one go through it or, you're in that line of work to witness, and even for myself, when it's been explained to me on a very different level, right? And you've been right there with me, how some things don't necessarily heal. There's no guarantee. They can, doesn't mean they will.
Yes.
And this was much longer after the accident, closer toward the end of his life, that this was actually taking place. So watching that actually made some things connect with me as I was remembering some conversations with doctors about my father's recovery and my own, for that matter, after specifically that brain surgery for myself. And my father had an amputation, a below knee amputation. The toll it takes on a body to recover is subjective. Like it's dependent on the individual.
Oh yeah, very much so.
If there is ever a advertisement for why it's best to be in good condition, right? And the benefit of that good condition.
Yes.
That documentary definitely hit home.
Oh yeah.
And some of the very recent conversations I've had, even in the last few months, especially the last few weeks, of just trying to do it different for my nervous system, to maintain strength, build and maintain, but do it different to not tax the nervous system, right? So when I was watching that today and I was thinking about that, like his systems were slowly shutting down, the balding that he was experiencing, the skin issues, all those things that they were going to happen because as nerves die and they're not repairing, and it just, I couldn't imagine knowing. So in the end, it was some type, they alluded to an infection, some type of infection.
And his body didn't have what it took to fight it off anymore. Yeah.
And it could have been very simple. It wasn't some wound or something that he gained that didn't heal. At least that's not how it sounded to me. It literally just, the body gives out. There is a point where it cannot continue to try to rebuild. So it's almost like I know it's going to sound strange, but I almost likened it in a moment to, oh my gosh, the term just went out of my head. But when someone is reaching the end of their life, and then that exhilaration that comes,
that rally.
Thank you, the rally. My goodness, the rally that comes when their body is just pushing all the resources to surviving.
Yep.
To surviving. It's not about healing. It's just surviving a little bit longer, and then the rally comes down.
Effectively burns out everything it's got left to try and get over that hump.
I could see that in the timeline of what they were providing, and it was amazing for them to have documented footage of that process with their father. I love that they were able to share that, because I think in essence that might have been what that was, where the body was rallying around and had just come to a certain point, amazingly. Because he did have the means to have the nursing and have the care and have the physical therapy and have the things that was keeping him going. But there was a point when then all of that was not going to matter. No.
It was a delaying action. And his hope was to delay it long enough for that miracle discovery to happen.
Absolutely.
And it didn't happen in his lifetime, but holy crap, what we are able to pull off now.
I have to believe that's connected.
Because of the research, and it's like we're still, anybody that's got the injury that he's got is going to run down a very similar path because we're not there yet. But holy crap, we are way closer than we would have been otherwise.
Yes. And having the knowledge I do is certainly not extensive. We have amazing programs right here in the city where we live, Grand Rapids. And I know there's other Mary Free Bed locations, but they are quite advanced in what they're able to provide. And for some people that had these type of horrific accidents, they're going to benefit from that now, right? With the neurostimulators and things like that, that people can receive to at least have mobility. It might not be full-blown walking, as he said, I'm going to get out of this chair. But it doesn't mean in our lifetime it still couldn't happen.
Well, and
the lifetime of his children that are continuing on that legacy.
Well, and they showed a man who'd had a very similar injury and was just like Christopher Reeves, was full paraplegic, and the guy can walk now. He kind of looks like a robot walking, but given time, given more time to heal and more time, it's like the fact that sometimes great things come out of horrible tragedies.
Yes.
And I think if it wasn't for the tragedy of someone like him, somebody famous, somebody who could bring a spotlight to certain things, somebody that people could rally around, and who's not going to rally around Superman?
Right. Right.
If it wasn't for all, it's like he kind of forced things to get better faster. And yeah, it's like something, it's like all of those people got hurt. The kids and his wife and his friends, they all paid a dear price for that to happen.
I had no idea he had the relationship he did with Robin Williams.
Oh, no, I knew that one.
How fascinating.
Yeah, oh yeah.
How fascinating.
That was, they alluded to it, but...
no, I think somebody actually said it.
No, they alluded, they kind of...
You're talking about Robin Williams at the end of his life?
No.
Oh, I thought you were talking about
in an interview with Christopher Reeves after the accident, it's like somebody asked him, was like, when did you realize, when did you come to that turning point when you knew you could keep going? And he said, it's like, Robin came in dressed up as a doctor and as a Russian proctologist.
Yeah.
And he was going to give me an exam, and he was just being, full-on Robin Williams. And I laughed, and I realized it was the first time I'd laughed in a long time. And if I can laugh now, I can get through anything. That's when I knew everything was going to be okay. I didn't know what it was going to be like, but it was going to be okay.
I do remember that, yeah.
Robin Williams dug a lot of people out of bad places in his lifetime.
I was like, wow. But then somebody later on had said they absolutely believe there was a connection in the end of Robin Williams' life to his dying. And I'd have to research a timeline out of my own curiosity.
It was a long time. But
that doesn't mean that the loss didn't affect him.
Oh,
and
not
that
at all.
He didn't carry that.
Well, and
it certainly doesn't mean that.
There was there's a story. Wow. When they were doing Schindler's List, it was really dark. Very dark movie. A lot of people were really depressed. Some people, you got really good guys like Ralph Fiennes playing an absolute horrible character. And and it was very dark. And Spielberg would call up Robin Williams, put him on speakerphone, and just let Robin just go off being Robin Williams, and got everybody laughing to try and raise the mood so they could keep making this movie. He did that for people all over the place. He did that for fans. He did that for... It's like, but at the end of his life, I don't think he ever really felt like he had somebody that could do that for him. Which I think is kind of a
trap.
Shame.
Yeah, that's the trap.
He was the guy that pulled everybody else out. I don't think he ever found somebody other than maybe Christopher Reeves that could do the same for him. And when he was gone and he started going down a really dark road.
Christopher Reeve.
Mm-hmm.
No S. There's no S.
I know. I keep doing it. Well, it's because George Reeves played Superman in the 50s serials. And they're completely not related, but you got George Reeves and Christopher Reeve, and my brain sometimes puts them together.
Baby.
So I apologize. But, for the longest time, George Reeves was my Superman.
Well, yeah.
And then...
Right.
It's like... He
was Superman.
He was Superman. But...
I wanted to talk about this and bring this up. I know as I started saying, I was too lazy to work out. But, which is true. I mean, we were watching the documentary and I don't know, other things that just, whatever. It's been one of those days. Like I said, embracing the last lazy day. And the conversations that I have had, even in just the last month, 2 months, with some of my healthcare professionals, some of my team, how to work out again. I've kind of used my own, I'm not sure what that's for.
No idea. That was weird.
Kind of to, okay.
Had an alarm going off. Had to shut it off because we have a standing Wednesday night appointment.
Oh, it's that time of day. All right. Goodness.
Yeah, sorry.
Anyway, that's not happening today.
That is not happening today.
Because it's a holiday. I found myself working, new career, trying to figure out what would work best for clients to be able to build a clientele to earn money. And I know I did it all backwards because, I was taught very, very strongly that you create the schedule and then the people will fit or they won't. But anyway, yep, did that a little wrong. But just a lot of life, a lot of appointments, and a lot of things, and trying to make it all work out and getting used to things as I really didn't feel great. I mean, I was coming off of months of not feeling great after, again, those 3 surgeries in 10 months and then a rough summer and starting that business and just figuring it all out. Started with that new specialist, as I'd shared last time, and even yesterday, I did eat some crap and I didn't feel as awful today as by all rights I would have previously. Not to say even that, because it wasn't even a ton, but a couple cookies is enough. Like that is enough for me. And I do feel it a little bit here in my joints, but again, nowhere near as bad. So I do believe there's something different that's happening there.
Yes.
But regardless, I'm building up the dosage on that last pill and we'll see where this goes. It is important. Your health is important. Moving is important.
Yes.
And the last conversation I had with Mike, physical therapist, the other day, and it was a term that he said, it's a phrase that caught my attention and it stopped me. And it was just one of those, like, maybe I need to reflect on this a little bit differently. Moving is the only way. Like, there is no other way. It's that phrase, that there is no other way. That I haven't really heard that in a while. Yep. I haven't thought it in a while.
We were, excuse me, we were not made to be stationary. There's too many systems in our body. There's too many systems in our body that require movement to function. Your lymphatic system is passive. It requires movement for 100%. Things to flush. Your heart doesn't move all of your blood. Your quads, as you walk, can help pump as much blood to your extremities as your heart does. Give or take. I mean, it's not exact, but it's like your body needs to move.
It really does.
You need to flush that stuff out of your tissues, and that only happens when you move.
Working out, eating well, drinking water, sleeping well.
Well,
those moving.
Like
steps.
The food and the sleep and the water are the basic building blocks you need to, in order to function. And then you have to function, and the functioning itself has its own mechanisms of making things better.
It's the steps, right? And we talk about the steps and the focus on this and the focus on that. And
sure.
All the things I've tried in the last 2 years. Yeah. Like, I think I've done as well as I could, given all the circumstances, to maintain a decent routine.
Sure.
And I do have.
Well, then the snow falls and you can't walk in the. You can't really walk.
That's another conversation.
Well, the way cold affects your face. I would say it's probably not the greatest idea to be outside blowing in this. In the
once upon a time, I told myself I could do it all and. They all had the purpose, and no matter what, I'd put myself through it. I don't know how or why or what changed in that will, so to speak. What's that? There's a term that I found researching something else, of course, because that's just how it always is with me. And it's a Finnish term, if I can get back to it here.
Okay.
And I said, well, that just about sums that up. And if I know how to say it right, it's SISU, but it's pronounced sisu.
Sure.
It's a Finnish word that means inner strength, determination, the ability to act rashly in the face of adversity. It's often translated as stoic determination, tenacity of purpose, grit, bravery, resilience, and hardness. When I looked up how to pronounce it, what made me chuckle was my mother. My mother's name was Susan.
Sure.
Sisu. As I have said and talked about in many episodes, that it was my mother had an amazing grace and tenacity about her to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So interesting that that's how you pronounce this word, sisu. I don't know where my sisu went, man. I don't know how or when. It just needed to sit down for a while, and I let it. And I did start a career, and I can use all the excuses all day long. But I do. It is figuring it out, and I have an amazing couple of professionals that are trying to help me figure it out. And I mean, even talking to my cousin yesterday, who was a personal trainer, and had some issues, had some major surgeries.
Let's just say that's a mild understatement.
And some unfortunate affective alcoholism. But he's better now. He's good. He's solid. Almost 3 years recovered. Yeah. But it took a horrible wake up call for him.
Yes.
And he does manage. He manages to work out. It's like, okay, well, what's my excuse, right? Because I've done better than manage. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I did better than manage once upon a time.
Yes.
Where did that go? I was told after my May procedure, I really needed to let myself recover and give myself more grace and understand that it was just going to be a minute. I really had to accept that it was just going to be a minute. Well, it had been a minute for a freaking year over a year at that point. I was like, yeah, I just didn't know. I just didn't know. It's interesting to watch a documentary like that and to hear him talk about how he was so used to a lifestyle. Christopher Reeve was so used to a lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And to talk Michael J. Fox did the same thing 2 years ago with Still. That was an amazing documentary as well.
Yes, it was.
You're used to having a life. And what's gone, there's a process you go through.
Well, Christopher Reeve was never stationary.
No.
He was flying and gliding and ballooning and hiking
skiing,
and biking and skiing,
horse riding,
playing hockey and
moving, going.
And then you throw on doing
we talked
movie
about his
after
routine
movie.
To bulk up for Superman. How did he say? How many hour weight training routines a day?
Twice. He hit the weight room twice a day.
Gosh, for hours at a time.
And to make it, it's like, okay, to me, this is funny. I kind of knew, I heard it before, but it's funny. But Superman got bulked up by Darth Vader.
I know, right?
That is kind of awesome.
That's funny.
Because the guy in the suit is the guy that helped Christopher Reeve bulk up to play Superman. That is kind of freaking outstanding, actually.
But just that there is that funny thing. And it's an amazing documentary. I suggest anybody watch it. It's called Superman.
Super/Man. Yeah.
Yep, Super/Man.
Yep.
I think it's like Christopher Reeve story or something like that. But it's not that I didn't, have my grieving process, and certainly my issues were nowhere near. I'm not talking about comparing and contrasting in that way. I'm talking about when you have the loss of functionality in your life, in a way, most of the time you might be okay, and sometimes you're not. And when you're not, you're not. And I had a lot of not.
Sure.
I was doing the best I could, considering, and try to give myself grace and all that. And then months go by, and you're like, yeah, well, I don't really know how much more grace I'm going to be able to give myself for this or that thing, this or that excuse. So it's okay. Then what can just make it entirely different? What can just make it effective, but entirely different? And I said, I don't know. I don't even know how to begin to do that. What would that even look like? It kind of comes back around to the exact same thing every time. It's great that everybody has thoughts and theories and ideas for my life, but nobody's telling me how to do it.
Sure.
And I did finally have a couple people, including my great physical therapist, who's like, yep, well, how about this or that? Who also happens to be a certified trainer. How about this or that? Okay. All right. Let me process that. I got rid of my hex bar yesterday.
Yes, you did.
That felt stranger than I thought it would. But I know it's going to somebody that'll use it well.
Yes.
And
Most
that's what
definitely.
mattered.
Yes.
I was blessed to be given a cycle, like one of the actual, like for cycling, a couple years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's had some issues. That's one of the reasons why they didn't use it anymore. But I had said it's not comfortable. It doesn't hold tension, so it's not like really effective in that way. Okay, how about, again, let's just figure out what could be different, but effective with cardio, right? What could be genuine cardio? Because as to my beautiful husband's point, I don't go outside. You know what? I have the bearskin coat. I have the snow pants. I have the shoes. I can.
It's keeping it off your face. Because you simultaneously can't have something on your face, and you also can't have something blowing on your face.
And 2 years ago, when I bought all of that stuff, I was not at the same place I am now.
No.
Because now my right side is also compromised, whereas before it was my left. Now my right and my left. My right is not as bad as my left, but it's still an issue. And to your point, the sensitivity has definitely changed to have anything rubbing on my face. Feels a lot more like bee stings or like something crawling than it used to. It's very strange. It's obnoxious. I don't care for it.
No.
But
at the same time, I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't. We can't.
Am I going to pay for it in the gym membership? Absolutely not. I have things in my basement. Let's figure this out.
Sure.
Let's figure this out. I'm not going to go walk the mall. I'm not going to go walk a store. No. No.
I've kind of done it, but.
My point is, it's different. It's about doing it different. There isn't an excuse for not doing it different.
No.
I had a client tell me, I'm sorry, I just want to finish this point.
No,
the client tell me, as I started seeing her just a few weeks ago, she'd had something happen to her and didn't think she was ever going to be able to interact with her grandkids the same way. And then she could. But she remembers when she believed she couldn't. And that gratefulness that comes when you do fight for that change.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
I knew all along there was a reason why I was brought to the place where I was trying to gain the strength that I was and the knowledge that I was about strength training and those things because I needed it. I hit that.
Oh yeah.
And now
it has served you very well through the course of many, many other issues.
It has.
Yeah.
But I also had to come to accept the double-edged sword. That where I am now, it's very different to compartmentalize. When it was my left side, that was one thing. When it was my right and my left, which started in about March of this year, it started to really escalate and become more consistent. It was a whole different game. And I was still technically recovering, right? Building up in my recovery workouts from the nephrectomy just to turn around and need the ablation in May. And still be in pain, by the way, until we figured out what was causing the pain. And now I know I have another uterine fibroid. I know that.
Awesome.
I had the ultrasound. It's small. Let me be clear, it's small. But it's there. And it means that it grew since an ablation in May. And I'll be seeing an OBGYN for that in a couple of weeks. I don't know what she's going to want to do with it. A new doctor. I've had doctors. This is somebody different. Referred to me by the doctor that found it. Blah blah blah. All the things. But I kind of had to chuckle, and I'm like, you just know deep down somewhere that like it's not even that it's like a cancer concern or anything like that. They're typically not. They're typically benign. It says right in the thing, likely benign. Could be wrong. I don't have a feeling that it is. But I just kind of chuckle a little bit. Like, should have gotten rid of that thing. Should have gotten rid of that thing. My body grows friends. Okay, my body grows friends. We've known this is a well-established history.
Now, first it was your kidney was growing; it was lonely, so it grew friends. And yeah,
Well, my uterus has grown friends before too.
yeah, this is true, but they usually haven't been that bad.
And she
yeah.
was growing a giant friend when we decided to burn her. I didn't evict her.
No,
Burned her.
And at the time, it was I can't do another big procedure right now. I just can't.
Oh, I could tell by the look on your face. Your brain was just not the whole concept. And I knew. It's not like I couldn't have really processed it well myself. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the look on your face is what that was the first thing, and that was the lasting thing, and that's where I stopped it. I said I don't think that's the best choice. I appreciated that it was an option. We talked about it, but we'll see. We'll just see what this doctor has to say. And it was a moment where I thought, oh gosh, I guess I should get off my ass and start really getting serious again, because a workout or two a week is not sufficient. It's not sufficient. I didn't do it before, and it can't continue now.
Sure.
If I am facing anything even remotely close to what I have been through, there is no way.
Yeah, this is true.
There's
of course,
no way.
Even a workout a week is better than nothing at all.
It's sad compared to what I used to do.
It is, but at the same time, you're lapping everybody that stayed on the couch.
I could help lift up my uncle.
Mm-hmm.
So there was that.
Yes.
I could help him.
This is true. It's one of those positions you don't want to be in, but when you're there, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Even the walking, nope, don't really do that. I haven't done that since like October outside.
Mm-hmm. Started getting cold and breezy.
No. I do miss my cemeteries.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's been more wintry this year than it has the last few.
It's been at least cold and wet.
This time last year, we were walking on like green, ugly grass in cemeteries.
Yes.
Like literally, I think it was New Year's Day last year. We went for a walk.
It wasn't. We didn't get last year. It wasn't like we got hammered for like a weekend, and then it was gone for like a month, and then before the snow actually started coming with any kind of consistency.
I'm not talking the New Year's resolution stuff. Okay.
No.
Let me also be clear about that. That's not my thing. It's never really been my thing.
No, not really.
I'm talking about the real, genuine. You don't want to have to go through anything that's going to prove to you how important fitness is, but at the same time, it's okay to be prepared for it.
Yes.
And I'm not even talking like all out, go crazy. That's not what I'm saying.
No.
I can't even begin to tell you how strange the journey was that even started me down the road to learning about it, to caring about it, to understanding that I literally can't live well without it. It was proven to me substantially. And the support I had from all my medical professionals along the way was enough. Even my new specialist a few months ago, talking to him about it, even he was impressed.
Yes.
But I was also honest that my husband's not my trainer. He was doing his best to fill that role. And even now, like, he's not going to encourage me. And I said this a few months ago. You were right there with me. He's not going to encourage me to keep doing it when I'm really rough. He's just not.
No.
He won't, and he hasn't. And I've always known that, and that's why he wasn't my trainer. And he's done amazing to keep me going. And I've been so grateful that he's been right there with me as I've tried to figure out how to not have one and still have my issues and go through my stuff. And I've had people ask me, well, why don't you just get another one? Are you kidding me? Really? Like that wasn't even a conversation. But then it was so funny to have that physical therapist who was also a trainer who he's like, you are a unicorn. I don't know if you could handle going through that, again, because it's just the idea that there would be rejection again to some level. But it's on the trainer's ego, not, and he was so funny the way he's talked about it with me over the last like year. That's on their ego. Like he even admits if it wasn't for his other line of work, then he wouldn't have the same appreciation. But bring it back around. It doesn't have to be significant. Even for what I'm talking about right now, we took a Smith rack and completely altered it to you. We were blessed for you to have the ability to make it what I needed it.
Yep.
All the way. I mean, like from it becoming almost like a fitness center in and of itself with the cables, the way that the cables can come off of it now.
Multiple cable points, multiple pulley locations, and
the rack itself, the way that it's actually like altered for me.
Yep, I had to make it. For those that don't know, a Smith rack locks the bar, so it can't topple.
It's not,
but it has a safety It has a safety ratchet system.
It's a guided system,
and the locks didn't. The safety locks didn't line up with you. So I made new ones and that were offset from the original ones so that it would better line up with you.
And when I asked you a few months ago if it was time to sell it, you said absolutely not.
Unless we're going to the freaking gym.
And you used a word. And that's why I encourage you. I can't bench anymore. I haven't been able to bench. Well, I think we gave that up last summer.
Yeah.
Now it's January 1st. So I gotta say a year and a half ago,
you dinged your shoulder and it hasn't been right. And
no, we were trying, we were trying different things before my cyst removal, my kidney cyst removal. But it just aggravated it all over again. Hence I needed physical therapy for my shoulder, literally from, it was March 23, March 23, right up to the day before my nephrectomy. And then I continued on a few weeks in-house doing post-op therapy. And they could kind of keep an eye and make sure that I was still doing okay with it. But it's still an issue. It's been an issue. You want to talk about nervous system stuff? Our bodies are so fearfully and wonderfully made, right? Amazing advancements, and for as many as they could ever have, nobody can tell me entirely why it is that since the shoulder injury, and I do not think this is, and everybody agrees with me, right? This is not a coincidence that when my jaw, the issues with my jaw really ramp up on my right side, my shoulder also hurts to the point where it's difficult to get needles in certain areas. Like, it is not just me saying, oh no, it's agitated. Oh no, there's like actual physical evidence to other people that there is something going on there. I know that there's all kinds of like parts of all of it that professionals would probably understand to a degree. Nobody's bothered to try to really explain it to me. But to my knowledge, right, it just comes back down to there aren't all the answers and all the things. But for as capable as anybody could possibly be, it's important. It's important. If that just means is walking to the end of the driveway. That's important.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
After my brain surgery, I was counting feet. My victories were in how many feet I could walk. How many steps.
Mm-hmm.
I built it back up after that. I've built it back up again. And now I'm going to have to rebuild it. And I do have a lot of feelings about that because the last time I tried to do that, I injured myself. And it's not necessarily the concern I have in that way. It's a different appreciation for how important it is. And to watch a documentary like that, if it was not for his physical fitness, he would not have survived.
No.
And he barely survived as it was.
Mm-hmm.
But it really, there's a point, it's mental. It's not even about the physical anymore. Because yes, his body had to have years. I mean, I think he passed away, 10 years later? Something like that.
Yeah.
10, 11 years later. That was, there was a whole lot of heart there. It wasn't necessarily the physical ability because that needed time. And like we were saying, the footage was showing like those fingers and things twitching a little bit. That was toward the end of his life.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It was not right away.
No, it was years. Years after they were expecting to see any kind of improvement like that.
So whatever's better for me right now, it's like a totality of better that I'm taking the better for what it is, but my issues are not gone. And there was never a guarantee that issues would all be gone. It was just what could we make better and try to figure out. And I don't really care what label you want to shove on it. Mast cell activation syndrome. Okay. I guess, I've been researching that and trying to understand that a little bit more. And there's a whole lot of not direct answers about any of that.
Yep.
But I don't have like a life-threatening form of it. I don't have allergies that are that significant. But anyway, movement's huge. I guess I got complacent in my own way, telling myself a workout or two a week was fine, even though I know damn well I can do more. I just didn't. I wasn't compartmentalizing the energy to try to figure it out. I was kind of letting myself sit in my own complacency and denial for a little bit because I was tired of being in pain. And I knew there was nothing of what I understood how to do something that wasn't going to incite it. So it was easier to just not and work and rest, which has its place.
Most definitely does.
And now we're falling into winter where it's so easy to just sit in the warm, cozy, right? Literally doing it right now here talking to you.
Warm-ish.
But remember that my gym's in my basement.
Mm-hmm.
I might be surrounded by, we're going to call them PFs. Y'all just figure that out. And, but I'm not a huge fan.
The purple guys.
And, we even got some YMCAs here and there,
Mm-hmm.
Again, it costs money. And I have equipment in my basement. I don't need to pay money to use it somewhere else. And you wouldn't let us sell what's in the basement. So, okay, how do we do it different?
Well, yeah. Well, part of that is in a year and a half, you'd want to buy another one. Mm-hmm.
That's not true. I mean, I love squats. Love him. Love him. Love him. Love him. You know what, though? Here's a funny thing. They're amazing for that release of adrenaline and energy when you've had a bad day or you just need to kind of feel better about yourself. You need to feel like you can be strong and move something heavy. And that's just it right there. That's part of what has to change. For the sake, and I've been studying polyvagal theory, right? The nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
And what makes some things worse. And it's kind of all in how we move. It really can't. I'm like, from the point like you forget that you're breathing when you're upset, or you're clenching your teeth when you're upset, or you're making fists when you're upset. The tension in your body it's
got to go somewhere, yeah.
Right? There's a physical reaction to how you mentally feel in a moment, right? Whether or not you know it, cognizant of it, whatever that is. And sometimes every time your body doesn't know the difference between laughing, good stress, bad stress. Like, yes, there's the good endorphins and the things that come from laughing versus being angry, but there's some of the same physical thing. And I am living proof of that because my face will do the same thing if I'm crying or I'm laughing. It's how badly do I care about hurting in the moment. Right? And then I've learned my own techniques to try to overlook and ignore. But regardless of all that, that's just it. I can't move the same weight like I used to. It's not the best for my stress load. I'm accepting that. I'm wrapping my head around that. It's been a couple of weeks of kind of processing it. That lower weight, lower rep, lower sets. Like, I'm sorry, then what's the point again? Oh, kind of what you just said a couple minutes ago, which is the same thing I've heard from a few other people, which is moving something is better than nothing, and that there is still something to be said for it. It's a very overlooked performance level.
Mm-hmm.
And then you were telling me, and you've been telling me about somebody that you'd studied that basically said, if you could find the way to something you could do 100 times a day, then that's still like excellent for you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we're talking about Goggins. Everybody knows who that guy is. He's kind of insane, physically speaking. But when he started his fitness journey, he started with the idea of, it's like, I want to be able to do this 100 times. So he found a weight that he could move in a specific motion 100 times. Like, what can I bench 100 times? It's a broomstick. And at the end of that 100th one was effort. A little bit of weight is easy once. A little bit of weight 100 times is a lot of effort. Just moving your arm, like, actually, emotional weight kind of carries the same way. It's kind of weird, but you either a big weight once or a tiny weight a whole bunch of times, and you have the same kind of exhaustion from it.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going for, I want to be able to, it's a bit of an exaggeration, but I need to be able to flip that car off of my trapped child. That's a whole bunch of weight once.
That's a whole nother
or
adrenaline factor.
Or I need to be able to pick my kid up off the floor 1,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, you've moved 2,000 pounds.
I got used to a certain mindset because this is what I was taught.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't...
By a power lift. To be fair, by a power lifter. Your trainer was a power lifter by nature.
The success that I had achieved was that route.
Oh, and I'm not digging him for that.
No.
At all. Not digging him for that or giving you crap. No, it was extremely impressive, and he knew what he knew. But what he knew wasn't entirely what you needed.
And that's the part I've forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
I've forgiven
that
that much of it.
You can't teach to deal with somebody that's dealing with what you're dealing with.
With whatever ego was there, that it wasn't said out loud, that it was too hard for him to admit. Maybe. Maybe that is why it went down the way that it did.
Maybe.
But that's okay because we had to dismantle it. So I could keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God I did. Thank God we did.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's time to dismantle it again. I don't know what surgeries I'd be facing in the future. I know there'll be some. There's got to be something that's coming. I don't know entirely what, even for my current situation, but then what else would be in the future? And just aside from all of that, and that's just the ugliness of chronic illness, right? Mm-hmm. And thank God that when the ugliness of my chronic illness really, really started to rear its head, that I was in a place, in a mindset that I could gain the strength that I did. And watching a documentary like that, and you're like, he was racing a horse, but that could easily be anybody just doing anything simple.
Oh, yeah.
And they hit their head wrong.
That's slipping off of tripping on the stairs. I mean, that
can be detrimental.
Yeah, I mean, slipping in the tub, people have the same kind of injury. Admittedly, maybe not the same kind of impact forces, because like you said, he was 6 feet in the air, 6 feet tall, and 215 pounds, and he landed dead on his head.
Yeah.
That's not everybody. But the amount of force that's if you took the wrong step off of a ladder, you're like 2 steps up and you slip, the amount of force on impact is astronomical. And the amount of damage that can be done is even, corresponds to that impact. There's a reason why. I'm potentially going to be picking up a maintenance apprentice here in the foreseeable future, which I still don't know how I feel about that. Because there's a lot of times I still feel like the student. And if you don't feel like you're a student, then you haven't surrounded yourself with the right people yet. Like I know there's a lot for me to learn, so surround yourself with people that know way more than you do about something, so you feel a little bit stupid by standing next to them. It's like that's where you actually, and then pay attention and learn. Anyway, which is why I think, okay, maybe I can help an apprentice, because compared to with my knowledge and experience, they'll probably feel a little. Anyway, but back to what I was originally saying or trying to say. My job, like with a first year apprentice, I have to assume that you know absolutely diddly. And the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that you fundamentally understand deep down in your core that there's nothing that you are dealing with that is not trying to kill you.
That just seems so extreme.
But it's true. Everything I don't care if it's your coffee cup. If you put it in the right situations, your coffee cup can kill you.
Okay, you're going down some roads now. Let's come back.
People forget how close they are to catastrophe at every given moment. You're carrying, you're pulling a turkey out of the oven. It's a 350-degree oven.
Okay, that makes some sense. That's true.
It's a 350-degree oven. You're picking up a bird that weighs 20 pounds. You're leaning out over this big hot thing, picking up this 20-pound bird that's 180 degrees. I do understand
what lift with your legs means.
Lift with your legs.
That. I do understand what that means.
But you're kind of stretched out. If there's a little bit of water on the floor and you slip, all that ends up on you. Now you got third-degree burns, second-degree burns. You've got impact injuries. What if you slip forward? Now your face is now pushed on that freaking oven. It's like you are a second away from catastrophe. And when you forget that you're a second away from catastrophe is when it happens. You get complacent about the dangers that are around you. That's when accidents happen.
I feel like I got complacent with my fitness.
Potentially. Sure.
And yes, so that I can relate to what you're saying in that way.
But I mean, he kind of lived an extreme life.
He did.
Like steeplechasing. Seriously? Like, okay. I mean, I get it. Cool. All right. Cool. It's your thing. Got it. Awesome. And he was good at it. Awesome. But anytime you're doing anything like that, you are a hair's breadth away from catastrophe. And how many times did he squeak by that catastrophe with no repercussions whatsoever? How many times did he almost slip? How many times did the horse almost stumble? Know? Exactly. And you don't know how close you come sometimes. Like you're driving down the road, you're counting on the other guy staying in his lane.
Oh, yeah.
You're doing 75 miles an hour down the highway, and you got another guy that's doing 80 miles an hour down the highway. Your safety depends on the other guy, too. Like, how many times did that guy fly by and missed your mirror by a quarter of an inch? It's like you don't... when you forget how close catastrophe can be, you get complacent about how lucky you can be. Actually, in that documentary, he did a movie where he played somebody who was paralyzed.
Yeah, he'd actually gotten back into acting and directing.
No. This was before that.
Oh, yeah. The one just before.
Yeah, and
just before his accident.
Yeah, and he said he to get better understand the role and how to move and how to act and all of this, he was in rehab facilities and interacting with these people, and he said that he was very kind of smug. Well, thank God that's not me. And then it was him. There's he was, like he said, he was smug about it.
Yeah, he admitted that.
He was kind of arrogant about it.
His word. Yeah.
His own words, as best as I can recall them. And I am very conscious of the fact that at any given moment, something outside of my control could happen. Or I could get complacent. And now it is me. There's a number of times I see things, people dealing with, their kids get into an accident and their kids are all messed up, or people being in accidents, or, it's like, hey, all kinds of stuff. And there's something I say to myself often, but by the grace of God go I. I'm acknowledging the fact that that could be me. I am a stupid moment little bit of complacency or just bad luck away from being that guy. It is through grace. And, through grace and maybe not being stupid as much as I sometimes want to be, that isn't me. And I am grateful that it's not me. I'm not arrogant about it. I am thankful about it. And there's a reason why it's like, oh, you need a hand? Yeah, let me give you a hand.
It's different perspective.
Yeah. So it's a different perspective. Yeah. And that was one of his things that he says, like, I learned real quick. It's like my perspective had to change.
And that's kind of what I was saying, is that mental piece that I fell into. I wasn't conscious of it, but I was. And then I lived there, and I'm still there. I'm still there. Once you have it, you don't lose it. I had to go through my own phases of acceptance and what could get better and what won't. And then the expectation, even with hope, right? When I say there's hope, well, it's my version of hope, I guess you'd say, because my bar is still pretty low. Mm-hmm. I've been disappointed a lot. And this time I actually feel like it isn't something I'll be incredibly disappointed by, this new line of treatment. I'm just understanding that it's not necessarily going to take away all the symptoms and all the things. Mm-hmm. He even said, I'll feel better. He just couldn't tell me what would be better and how much it would be better. Mm-hmm. It's the better. And I have to wrap my head around, okay, what is that? And being okay with that. At the same time, accepting that I need to kind of change some of the very core things that were probably fueling some of the pain and some of the stuff. And it's hard to, that's the crazy thing about it, right? Like, it's no pain, no gain. Like, yep, that's really part of that. There really does have to be some burn in it. There does have to be something, often, painful to it. But often, for me, it was special and it was different. And that's what, okay, if you're asking me to do it again, you're asking me to gut it again, but not just gut it, you're asking me to actually take away kind of the thing, right? The thing that makes you feel strong. Like when you're moving a lot of weight, mm-hmm. and you're doing it well, right? Like that is the thing. So I think I've had a few weeks and my brain's processing it. Like I said, I heard that phrase the other day come out of his mouth, and I thought, all right, there's the sign. That I couldn't have asked for a better one, because there isn't any other way. If I'm going to continue, and then to see a documentary like that reminds you, like, it's New Year's resolutions and all that stuff, and it's not about the number anymore for me. I knew that. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, I used to say I'd love to just be able to move up, like have 200 pounds on the bar. The truth is, I've moved more than that. The day before my kidney cyst removal surgery, I moved the most weight I had ever moved repeatedly, and that was the last day. Mm-hmm. So, okay, yep. That's done. That was in August of 2023. And that's okay. That's okay. For right now, that's okay. Mm-hmm. I have been stuck in that it wasn't, and tried to give myself grace to look past it, and now it's just a whole different mindset. Like, now I might move 200. I don't know. I got to play with the bar. I got to play with it differently. I got to figure it out. I'm figuring out the things.
Focus. It's like, is it about the number or is it about the movement?
And that's what I have to mm-hmm. shift to movement, not number. Yep. And that's
now occasionally putting that number on the board is probably not going to be but not to be the day-to-day goal, but the occasional how high can I go? Once in a while.
Oh yeah, once in a while. Like, that's got to be once in a while.
One time out of 10, it's like, okay, we're going for a number, and you do do one.
But I have to work to that. Mm-hmm. I have to figure out all the stuff first, which was overwhelming and upsetting, and all the things that was helping me just kind of shut down a little bit more and make excuses for not trying to figure it out with the busyness of holidays and life, and those can't be excuses. That's not helpful.
No.
And I do know better. Mm-hmm. And anybody even with the New Year's resolution, it's like such a joke and cliche that nobody ever makes it with any of their goals and resolutions and all the stuff. I just encourage you to make it simple, make it small, and make it simple. It doesn't have to be all out of the gate at once.
No,
something is better than
and
nothing.
if you want to make a change, you can't. It's like, okay, I want to read 10 books, so you go.
I'm not a health coach for a reason.
No, well, it's like, and you go out and you buy the 10 books, and then you just hammer out as many of them as. And it's like, no, the idea is a long-term change. That should be the ultimate goal, long-term change. I am going to not eat. It's like, I'm not going to have ice cream 6 days a week from now on. Okay, it's like that. It's like that can have, if you're the ice cream guy and you're eating ice cream all the time, and it's like it's a bunch of empty calories that you don't need. So like, you know what?
Don't speak that way.
Yeah. Well, we all know it. It's a treat. But it's like if you do it a lot, it's like that's a lot of calories. That could be, depending on who you are, a lot of calories that your body doesn't need. It's extra that your body doesn't need. So it's like, okay, you know what? From now on, I'm only going to do it once a week. I'm only going to have ice cream once a week. You know what? That's a goal. That's a long-term goal. That'll have long-term benefits a little bit at a time. That is the real point of a freaking resolution, is lasting change. What can I do? What is that thing? It's like, okay, I know, it's like, this isn't us. This isn't us, and, so don't read into that. But just, we know too many people. Anyway, like, okay, I drink too much. I'm going to dial it back. I'm only going to drink every other day instead of every day.
No, this is not us.
No, this is definitely not us. But, it's a small change. And the ultimate goal is to not be dependent on it at all. But you're not going to, it's like, I'm going to quit drinking. It's like, and the first time it gets hard and you backslide, well, I blew that, maybe next year. It's like, no.
I talk to people about why they're drinking to begin with.
Yeah, well, yes, but
my job is to talk to people about why it's the mental part of it. It is,
yes.
It is the mental
aspects
of why they're making choices.
Almost all addiction is more mental than physical. The physical you can deal with if you have a reason. It's the mental.
I analyzed myself through this one.
If you can find that hole, figure out what that hole is that you're trying to fill, or that thing that you're trying to bury, and deal with that, then the fundamental issue, then you can actually improve. That's the reason why so many rehabs don't work, is they deal with I heard it put that addiction isn't the problem. Addiction is a solution, just not a good one.
Yes, and I didn't mean to go down the addiction track.
Anyway, but back to
my sisu. What's my sisu? What's your sisu? I'm not sure, man. What is that? What is that something that you can really focus all that sisu on? That toughness.
Yep.
Right.
Well, and even if
Christopher Reeve wanted to live.
All you have to do, he wanted to live, and
in the end, it wasn't. Yes, he missed all the things in his life he couldn't do anymore, but he wanted to live.
He wanted to live, and he was tough enough to accept his current situation, but hopeful enough that just because this is where I am now doesn't mean that this is where I'm going to be forever. He learned how to enjoy his life and the situation that he ended up in.
His words,
it took a while.
They talk about it. Like, they have footage of him and his words talking about some of that transformation.
Yes,
which I just think is absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, definitely.
Have that.
He learned that I think
he passed away in 2006. So he's been gone for some time.
It's been a while, but he said and I'm paraphrasing, they became a better father, because instead of making sure that they were busy, he talked to them and got to know them better, rather than filling their lives up with activities and hockey and all this other stuff. Is like, tell me about you.
Them.
He was just with them.
I apologize. I think it's 2005 now that I've said that.
Yeah, anyway,
he's still been gone a while.
He's been gone for like 20 years. So yeah,
yes,
anyway,
he learned.
It's like there's nothing wrong with, actually, you do need to accept where you are.
Yes.
And be aware that things could be better, and hopeful for that, without being resentful to your current situation.
Yes.
Because that'll hold you back.
Which Happen to know something about.
It's sometimes really hard to not be resentful towards the current situation. However, it holds you back. It's a lot of energy you put somewhere else. And you take that resentful part and put it into the hopeful part. It's like, it's like, yeah, he was very aware he was stuck in that chair. But he also knew far enough down the road, somebody else wouldn't have to be. Why couldn't it be him? Anyway, but I was like, yeah, so, there's that.
I apologize. It was 2004. I was looking that up. October 10th of 2004.
Yeah, so,
but yes, and you say that, you said it very well. There's something about the level of acceptance without dwelling on it. It doesn't mean you don't have, give yourself permission to have your days. Yeah. I've learned very well to give myself permission to have my days. I've had a lot of them lately, but I don't think I've gone as far down the hole as I could have. And maybe sure. I didn't a few years ago because I'm at a different place, because it is about what to function for and look forward to. I do have my career. I have my family. I have the hope of having some relief from the daily nightmare of pain, and whatever that it will look like for me. That doesn't mean it will look like the same thing for somebody else. And I'm keeping my expectations reserved. I can just tell you there's been enough progress that now in just a month, I'll say, okay, there's something to this. I have another Botox injection coming up. Unfortunately, it's late, and I'm starting to feel some effect from that. And the weather isn't fun,
no.
But I'm not going outside near as much as I used to either. I used to make myself go outside and walk, and I haven't done that either. So there's the shift in all of this that I'm experimenting with for myself, and I have all the frame of reference. I've had several years now to know the triggers and the knot and how things are going to be, right? But now it's backing it all up and saying, okay, is there different equipment we could use? I can go without the hex bar. Okay, it can go. That recumbent bike. Okay, let's go ahead and get the recumbent bike. What else can we shift and change? All right, I'll change the weight on my squats. That is painful for as hard as I have worked to even get up to 150 pounds. But I worked hard to get there and maintain it. But okay. Okay. Then I'll make it a lesser number. Okay. I will do what it has been suggested to me by the professionals, because all they have is their basics to go on, and it's got to start somewhere. And the relief that could come from it while still making some physical progress, because it is important to be the best you can and to be able to survive certain things. Well, mine might be special and pretty consistent, unfortunately.
Well, nobody really knows what's coming.
No.
And it's best to,
the better shape you're in, the better off you will be. That you can't argue that. There's no argument.
Well, and there's something to be said for the idea of digging the well before you're thirsty.
Yeah.
It's like you don't know what you're going to need.
It's certainly not how I was raised.
So while you're in good shape.
What's been encouraged for me the majority of my adult life. Absolutely.
Yeah.
When you're looked at like the, middle-aged, overweight mom, well, just, now it's just get over it. Just, it's just fine. This is just where you are. Well, I've got enough professionals in my life that are telling me, no, that's not quite how you should be looking at it. It is to be more flexible with expectation. And I am working on that.
Well, there's the best you can be right now. And are you there? No? Then okay. Well, you can still become the best at who you are right now.
I'm going to come back around to that. And that's the New Year's, the goals, right? The goal was, yes, there's a certain amount of weight I'd like to lose by my birthday. That's 102 days. I said, all right, I've got 102 days. Not exactly, going great out of the gate with that. But that's okay. That's okay.
Hey, it's only day one, man.
It's only day one. And whatever comes. But if I put forward my best effort, that's what matters. And that's what it matters for anybody, is best effort. Yes, I go with my weight first because it's something I've been working really hard on. But I also know I have a lot of things against me. Well, I have a lot of things against me.
It's an easy thing to track.
yeah.
It's not necessarily a good thing to track, but it's something that can be tracked. There's a lot
now that I have a little bit better understanding on the glucose monitor and all that stuff that I've experimented with. Yep. So, yeah, it's just this. Just as something. Mm-hmm. And then I'll enjoy certain things going on sale and take advantage of it because it's that time of year.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right? Organizing stuff. And, there's definitely some stuff like that I'm looking forward to. What else? What else are the other ones? There's some other ones out there, like, usually it's exercise and organizing. Usually.
Yeah.
And in my line of work, I know there's certain types of clients that will also be coming soon. But
oh yes, most definitely.
Anyway, 'tis the season, so we've gone over
a lot. Yeah.
Well, than our norm. That's okay. We had some points we wanted to make.
Yes.
And I didn't mean to sound terrible correcting you, but to say his name correctly, I thought that was important.
No, I get it. That's cool.
Reeves. So if I would suggest anybody watch that.
Oh yeah, it was good.
Now, it was on HBO. I believe HBO.
Dang.
I know. There were some parts that definitely hit home.
Oh yeah,
definitely hit home.
Yes.
And in more ways than one, just like with Michael J. Fox, it's called Still. That one is also phenomenal. I think that one is still only Apple.
Probably.
And I don't know about the availability of Superman, but it's worth a watch. It was like an hour and a half or something. Mm-hmm. It just, if you're like us and you're kind of in that generation, it's kind of fascinating to see what came of him in that accident, what led up to him becoming a star. Just kind of that, like, really, it's like fairy tale-ish, it, but at the same time, he came from a messed up home.
Oh, very much so.
So how amazing is it? And we'll close with this. I'll just say this. When you watch it, you'll understand. How amazing that he talked about the brokenness that he came from and the multiple divorces within his family and all that stuff with his parents and the half siblings. And I think there's a half brother, maybe even a sister that's in the documentary. That then his children who even talk about their knowledge of it and then some of that brokenness that they knew their dad had come from. What they saw modeled from them, from like their stepmother and then the youngest mother, that relationship, how amazing that healing could come in that way.
Yes.
That then that marriage modeled just extraordinary loyalty and dedicated her life.
When she said till death do us part, she meant it. Rich or poor, sickness and health, man, she dug in with both heels.
And just that embodied completely for them and to her death, which technically it sounds like even from the timeline, she was probably in all of the stress and all of that, just it took its toll on her as well. She passed so quickly soon after. But anyway,
she was deathly ill and didn't know it. Yeah.
Yep. I can also relate to that as well.
Most definitely.
So I say that just to say like that. I thought that was also beautiful. That was a beautiful point.
Yes.
It's not necessarily made. It's something that I extracted after I watched it. But they were able to experience that. And then that's the legacy also that they can pass on to their children then, because they did see an extraordinary marriage and dedication in that way.
Yeah.
It wasn't just all about the brokenness in the end.
No, it wasn't.
And then they made a phenomenal documentary to embody that. So thanks for hearing us ramble about all that. Hope you go watch that and consider some physical activity changes in life if you feel that's necessary.
Yep. Well, that's the thing. We can always be better. I don't care who you are, where you're at. There's always a little bit you could be better.
I'm working on that between the recumbent bike.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily physical, but we could always be better.
Recumbent bike and changing the weights, and I'm not sure about walking in this weather, but
probably not.
But we're working on it.
We're
working on it. I'm excited to report how things go. Now I'm really done.
Okay. Alrighty. So, All that being said, I'm Fix It.
I'm Feel It.
We hope you join us in the future.
Until next week.
Have a great one. And Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year.